Stay here. Not because I asked you to, but because something inside you already knows you were meant to hear this. Archangel Michael is not approaching you softly today. There is no gentle invitation in his voice. There is urgency, there is authority, and there is a warning that does not repeat itself twice. He says, "If you turn away now, I will not come to you like this again." Let that land. This is not a motivational message. This is not content. This is not coincidence. Something has been forming quietly in the background of your life. Not sudden, not loud, but precise. A sequence, a setup, a chain reaction that was meant to collide with your path at just the wrong moment. And right now, this exact moment, Archangel Michael is stepping in front of it. Do not scroll. Do not multitask. Do not tell yourself you'll come back later. Later is where protection is missed. Take a breath in. Slow. Deep. Exhale and let your shoulders drop. That heaviness you've been carrying lately, the one you couldn't explain, that wasn't random. The tightness in your chest, the sudden blank moments in your mind, the strange restlessness that came out of nowhere. That was your spirit reacting before your logic could catch up. You weren't imagining it. You weren't overthinking. You were sensing something approaching. Archangel Michael is standing beside you now and says, "Listen to me. Do not leave before I finish speaking." Recently, fear has been visiting you without knocking. Moments where everything felt fine, and then suddenly it wasn't. Times when you felt exposed, watched, vulnerable, even when you were alone. You tried to brush it off. You told yourself you were tired, stressed, sensitive, but your intuition knew better. There was a force trying to bend your path, to redirect you away from what was meant for you and toward unnecessary struggle. And hear this clearly. What was coming was not small. It wasn't a bad mood. It wasn't a minor setback. It wasn't one of those days. It was a patterned disruption meant to touch your peace, your confidence, your finances, and the way you see yourself. One thing would have triggered another, a delay leading to doubt, doubt leading to poor decisions leading to regret. That's how it works. But the moment you opened this message, the timeline shifted. You stepped into a different corridor of possibilities. Archangel Michael placed his sword of light between you and that approaching chain of events and declared, "No further." This protection is active right now, but it is not passive. Every second you remain fully present adds another layer of light around you. And this is why the urge to scroll is so strong. That pull to leave, that sudden distraction, that thought saying, "This is too long." That is resistance. That is the old pattern trying to reclaim you. Stay. You are not here by accident. You were nudged, redirected, interrupted. Archangel Michael says, "I waited for the moment your heart would be still enough and your spirit open enough to hear me." This is that moment. You have been stronger than you realize. Even exhausted, you kept giving. Even hurt, you stayed kind. Even disappointed, you didn't harden your heart. People betrayed you, misjudged you, doubted you, and still you chose not to become bitter. Heaven noticed. Every quiet act of goodness, every tear wiped away in silence, every time you chose love over resentment. Because of this, something significant has been prepared for you. But before it can fully reach you, what was moving against you must be cleared. And that clearing has already begun. as you listen, something is shifting around you. The heaviness that sat over your life is starting to crack. The fog that clung to your direction is thinning. Archangel Michael says, I am cutting cords you were never meant to carry. I am clearing what does not belong to your future. But hear this. Do not rush away. Do not jump to the next thing. Later is how blessings slip past unnoticed. To agree with this protection, you must act with intention. When this message ends, go to the comments and write Amen. Not as a habit, not automatically, as a declaration. As you type it, feel what you are agreeing to. So it be. I accept protection. I choose the clearer path. That word is consent, and consent matters. Now, listen closely. Archangel Michael is drawing your attention to something that has quietly affected your life for a long time. You have been carrying other people's energy, their jealousy, their resentment, their unspoken hope that you wouldn't rise too far. Not through rituals, not through magic, through proximity, through thoughts, through emotional residue. And it formed a kind of cloud around you. You saw it in the delays, opportunities that looked perfect and then collapsed without explanation. Money that should have arrived easily, but didn't. Connections that started strong and then suddenly cooled. And you wondered, what's wrong with me? Why does this keep happening? Am I blocked? You were not cursed. You were burdened. And Archangel Michael says, I stepped in the moment you chose to listen. Right now, invisible ties are being severed. Old patterns are dissolving. Spiritual traffic jams are clearing. And here is something you may not expect. There is something you thought was gone forever. A dream you buried, an opportunity you wrote off, a version of yourself you believed had died. It was not lost. It was delayed, shelved, not destroyed. And now it is reactivating. A door once closed is beginning to open again. You are closer to breakthrough than you allow yourself to believe. But awareness matters. This moment is a fork in your path. One direction leads to clarity and momentum. The other leads back to confusion and repetition. Without intervention, you were drifting toward the heavier road, not because you failed, but because of pressure you didn't see. To seal this shift, you must declare it. Write this when the message ends. My path is clear. Not as hope, as agreement. As you do, imagine a line of light stretching ahead of you. No fog, no circles, no second guessing. Archangel Michael says, your enemies, seen and unseen, will not cross this line. What was forming against you is breaking apart. You may feel emotion rising, relief, the urge to cry. That is your spirit exhaling. Do not rush away. The next part of this message goes deeper, much deeper. Stay with me, because what Archangel Michael is revealing now explains why your life felt heavier than it needed to be, and why things are finally beginning to move. He says, you thought you were failing. You were not. You were under pressure you could not see. Let that sink in. For a long time, you have been blaming yourself for things that were never entirely yours to carry. You replayed conversations in your head. You questioned your decisions. You wondered if one small mistake ruined everything. But Archangel Michael is interrupting that narrative right now. He says, you were not blocked because you were unworthy. You were delayed because timing was protecting you. There is a difference. Blocked paths feel dead. Delayed paths feel frustrating, but alive. And your path was always alive. What you experienced was spiritual congestion. Too many expectations, too many emotional attachments, too many invisible poles in opposite directions. Imagine trying to walk forward while unseen hands tug at your shoulders, your thoughts, your confidence. That's what your life has felt like. You were fighting battles you didn't even know you were in, and yet you're still here. That alone tells Archangel Michael something important about you. He says, you were never meant to break under this pressure. You were meant to become aware of it. Awareness changes everything, because the moment you see the pattern loses its power. Right now, as you listen, a distinction is being made inside you. You are beginning to separate what is yours from what was placed on you. This is critical, because much of your exhaustion did not come from effort. It came from carrying emotional weight that didn't belong to you. Other people's expectations, other people's disappointments, other people's unspoken resentment. You absorbed it without realizing. Archangel Michael says, that season is ending. But endings don't always feel dramatic. Sometimes they feel like clarity. Sometimes they feel like a quiet decision. I'm not doing this anymore. You may already feel it, a subtle firmness in your chest, a sense of internal authority returning. That is not arrogance, that is alignment. Now listen carefully. There is something Archangel Michael wants you to understand about the people who affected your path. Not all opposition comes from enemies. Some of it comes from people who loved you but feared your growth. They didn't wish you harm consciously, but their insecurity created resistance. They questioned you, doubted you, suddenly discouraged you, and over time, that voice became internal. You started doubting yourself before anyone else could. Archangel Michael says, that voice is not yours, and today it loses authority. Right now, something is being restored in you, your inner compass, the part of you that knows when to move and when to wait without panic, the part of you that doesn't need external validation to trust its own direction. This is important because what's coming next will require decisiveness, not force, not hustle, but clarity. And clarity only comes when internal noise quiets down. Stay, because the next layer of this message reveals why your breakthrough could not happen earlier, even though you were ready. Archangel Michael shows me this clearly. If certain doors had opened before, they would have cost you too much. You would have said yes to things that drained you. You would have attached your future to people who could not sustain it. Delay was mercy. Protection disguised as frustration. And now the conditions have changed. You have changed. Your discernment is sharper. Your tolerance for nonsense is lower. Your intuition is louder. That's not you becoming cold. That's you becoming precise. Archangel Michael says, you are entering a season where speed returns, but only in the right direction. This matters because fast movement without clarity creates chaos, but fast movement with alignment creates momentum. In the coming days, you may notice something surprising. Certain things that once consumed your energy will suddenly feel irrelevant. You won't need closure, you won't need explanations, you'll just move on. That is a sign of authority returning to you. Now listen, this next part is crucial. There is a reason this message is unfolding in layers. Your mind could not receive it all at once, so Archangel Michael is guiding this step by step. He says, the battle you were in was never meant to be fought with force. You don't win this season by pushing harder. You win it by choosing differently, by saying no sooner, by walking away faster, by trusting the first signal instead of the fifth warning. That's the upgrade happening now, and this is where many people fail. They wait for proof before trusting themselves. But Archangel Michael says, trust is the proof. The moment you begin acting from inner certainty, external confirmation follows. You don't chase alignment, alignment chases you. Now pause for a second. Notice your body, not what you're thinking, what you're feeling. Is there a sense of steadiness, a calm focus, a grounded awareness? That is not random. That is your nervous system leaving survival mode. For a long time, you were bracing for impact, expecting disappointment, preparing for things to go wrong. That state kept you alert, but also tired. That state is releasing now. And as it releases, your creativity will return. Your ability to see options will expand. You'll start noticing solutions that were invisible before. Archangel Michael says, you will not need to force doors open. You will recognize the ones already unlocked. This is how your next phase begins, quietly, cleanly, without chaos. But hear this warning, and it is loving, not fearful. Do not drag old habits into a new season. Overthinking, self-doubt, explaining yourself to people who already decided not to understand you. Those patterns will slow what is about to accelerate. You are being asked to move lighter. And now, Archangel Michael addresses something deeply personal. There is a decision you've been circling, not making, not rejecting, just circling. That indecision has been costing you more than you realize. Energy leaks happen there. He says, make the decision. Clarity will meet you on the other side. You don't need every answer. You need commitment to direction. Once you choose, support aligns. This is not about being reckless. It's about stopping the quiet self-betrayal of staying stuck to avoid discomfort. Growth is uncomfortable. Stagnation is heavier. Choose your weight. Now, Archangel Michael asks you to anchor this shift, not because he needs it, because you do. When this part ends, go to the comments and write, I trust my direction. Not loudly, not emotionally, calmly, as a statement of fact, because from this point forward, second-guessing will feel unnatural to you. You will still reflect, but you will not spiral. That's maturity. That is power. And finally, hear this. The next sign you receive will not come as chaos. It will come as simplicity. Something aligning easily, a conversation flowing naturally, a door opening without struggle. When that happens, remember this moment. This is where the internal shift completed. Stay here, because what Archangel Michael reveals now explains why something you thought was over is quietly coming back, but in a form you didn't expect. He says, nothing meant for you was ever destroyed. It was preserved. Let that settle. For a long time, you believed a chapter of your life had closed forever. A dream that didn't work out. An opportunity that slipped through your hands. A version of yourself that once felt powerful, confident, alive. You told yourself it was gone, that you had missed your chance, that life had moved on without it. But Archangel Michael says, it was not taken from you. It was delayed so it could return without breaking you. Here's the truth most people never realize. You can be ready emotionally, but still not be ready structurally. Earlier, if that blessing had arrived, you would have doubted yourself inside it. You would have overextended to keep it. You would have attached your worth to it. And that would have turned a gift into pressure. So it waited. Not abandoned, not canceled, waiting for you to become steadier. And now, something has changed inside you. You are no longer chasing validation. You are no longer begging for recognition. You are no longer willing to betray yourself to belong. That internal shift is the signal. Archangel Michael says, the conditions are finally aligned. And this is where your life begins to feel different. Not dramatically at first, but subtly. You'll notice you're not as reactive, not as desperate for reassurance, not as shaken by other people's moods or opinions. That is inner authority coming online. And inner authority attracts external movement. Now listen carefully. There is a reason Archangel Michael has been insisting that you stay present through this message, because awareness is the key that unlocks the next phase. Right now, something is being reactivated in your field. Not all at once, not explosively, but deliberately. A door that once slammed shut is being revisited. An idea you once dismissed will resurface, but with new clarity. A connection that went quiet may return unexpectedly. And when it does, you will not feel anxious. You will feel ready. That's how you'll know the timing is right. Archangel Michael says, "What returns now will not ask you to shrink." That's important. Old versions of blessings came with conditions. Be smaller, be quieter, be more agreeable. This time, the blessing meets you as you are, stronger, clearer, more grounded. And here's something you may not expect. Your breakthrough will not feel chaotic. It will feel normal, calm, stable, almost obvious in hindsight. That's because desperation has left the equation. You are no longer trying to escape your life, you are building it. Now, Archangel Michael draws your attention to your future self. Not a fantasy version, not a perfect version, a functional version. The you who trusts their instincts, sets boundaries without guilt, moves without over-explaining, rests without fear. That version is not far away. It is being activated now. You will notice it in small decisions first, choosing rest instead of pushing, choosing honesty instead of politeness, choosing direction instead of comfort. These choices may feel unfamiliar. That's because you're stepping out of survival mode. Survival mode asks, how do I get through this? Alignment asks, what actually belongs in my life? That shift is everything. Now listen, this next part is crucial. Archangel Michael says, your next cycle will test your consistency, not your strength. You don't need to fight anymore. You need to stay aligned. That means not rushing when something feels off, not forcing outcomes out of fear, not returning to old patterns out of habit. Momentum is coming, but momentum requires direction. If you try to drag your old self into this new season, things will slow again. Not as punishment, as feedback. You will feel it when something doesn't align. A subtle resistance, a loss of energy, a quiet no inside your chest. Honor that. That's how you protect what's coming. Now, Archangel Michael asks you to seal this activation, not loudly, not emotionally, but consciously. When this part ends, write in the comments, "My new cycle begins now." As you write it, don't imagine fireworks. Imagine steadiness. Imagine waking up without dread, moving without confusion, choosing without fear. That is the cycle you are entering. And here's the confirmation many people wait for. You will not have to convince anyone. Those meant to walk with you will recognize the shift without explanation. Those who are not will quietly fall away. No drama, no confrontation, just separation by frequency. That is maturity. That is growth. Archangel Michael says, what leaves now makes room for what lasts. In the coming days, pay attention, not to signs that scare you, but to signs that simplify your life. Easier conversations, clearer decisions, unexpected relief. Those are confirmations. You don't need to announce this transformation. You don't need approval. Your peace will speak for itself. Part 4 is the final lock. That's where the outer world shifts are explained. The financial and opportunity movement is activated, and the old cycle is permanently closed. Stay ready. Stay. Because this is where the old cycle fully ends. Archangel Michael speaks now with clarity, not urgency. He says, the danger that was approaching you has already been stopped. Not delayed, not weakened. Stopped. And here is what most people misunderstand. Protection does not always look like something dramatic being removed. Sometimes it looks like you no longer walking into the trap. The argument you didn't engage in, the impulsive decision you didn't make, the person you didn't chase. That is how protection shows up in maturity. For a long time, your life felt like it was moving in circles. Progress, then setback. Hope, then disappointment. Momentum, then exhaustion. You thought you were starting over again and again. But Archangel Michael corrects that perception. He says, you were not restarting, you were refining. Each cycle stripped something unnecessary. Each delay removed a weakness. Each disappointment sharpened discernment. Nothing was wasted. And now the loop ends. Because cycles don't end with noise, they end with choice. Right now, a choice is being anchored inside you. Not loud, not dramatic, but firm. A decision that says, I will not live from fear anymore. I will not explain myself to earn peace. I will not confuse chaos with destiny. This is not rebellion. This is sovereignty. And sovereignty changes how the world responds to you. Now listen carefully. Archangel Michael shows the outer shift beginning, not all at once, but unmistakably. You will notice movement in areas that were stagnant, financial pressure easing, opportunities resurfacing, improved, delayed responses suddenly arriving, people reaching out after silence. But here's the key difference. You will not cling to these things. You will choose them. That's power. Previously, you were surviving. Now you are selecting. That shift alone alters outcomes. Archangel Michael says, from this point forward, your life will respond to your standards. Low standards invite chaos. Clear standards invite alignment. And your standards have risen. You are no longer impressed by potential alone. You require consistency. You require clarity. You require peace. This is why certain people will feel uncomfortable around you now, not because you changed for the worse, but because you stopped shrinking. You will notice something else. Your intuition will become practical, not mystical, not dramatic, just accurate. You will know when to say yes, when to walk away, when to wait, when to move, and you won't need to justify it. That is Archangel Michael's influence stabilizing inside you. Now hear this clearly. What is coming next in your life will not require suffering to prove its value. You have already paid enough. The next phase is built on alignment, not endurance. This is important because many people sabotage themselves here. They think, if it's not hard, it's not real. That belief ends now. Ease does not mean weakness. Ease means resistance has been removed. Archangel Michael says, what flows now flows because you are finally in position. In the coming days, you may feel a quiet confidence, not excitement, not adrenaline, stability. That is how real change feels. Drama belongs to transformation. Peace belongs to arrival. Now Archangel Michael asks you to seal this timeline. This is not ritual. This is alignment. When this message ends, write in the comments, I walk forward, protected in clear, not as hope, as confirmation. Because from this moment forward, the fog does not return. The old confusion does not reclaim you. The past does not pull you backward. You are no longer drifting. You are directing. And finally, hear this, and let it end here. Archangel Michael says, you will not recognize your life a few months from now. Not because everything will be perfect, but because you will be different inside it. Calmer, clearer, more grounded. You will respond instead of react, choose instead of chase, move instead of hesitate. That is the true blessing.
And when challenges come, because life still moves, they will not shake you the way they used to, because you are no longer unprotected. You are awake. Take one last breath, slow, deep, and if this message aligns with your spirit, seal it with one final word. Amen.